Opposition. This is the most famous pattern of them all. It involves putting your king directly in front of your opponent's king with a one square gap. This is powerful as f***. If the opponent moves in one direction, you can infiltrate the other, and vice versa. In this example, white wins using opposition by playing the king here. Now black goes to the left, and white infiltrates to the right. It looks like black got a pawn, but white is much closer to promotion, so it isn't even close. Diagonal opposition. Diagonal opposition is, as you guessed, opposing the king diagonally with a one square gap. This isn't really powerful on its own, but it's a way to get into regular opposition. In this example, white can play king to e4, creating diagonal opposition. Then, when the king moves, you step into regular opposition. And as we've seen, this is an easy win. Create passed pawns. Yes, you've heard this a million times. But here's how to actually create one. First, you need a pawn majority. Then you trade in the majority, and boom! But I'm going to show you two examples of creating passed pawns in equal pawn positions. In the first example, you push the middle pawn. Once black takes, you sacrifice another pawn. Now if they take, you just promote, and if they take the other one, you also promote. Another example is this one, where you push this pawn to create a passed pawn at the edge of the structure. Pawn types. Isolated pawns. Isolated pawns are pawns without any neighbors. They're quite weak, as only the king can defend them, and they should generally be avoided. Backward pawns. Backward pawns do have neighbors but still can't be defended by them, since the other pawns are too far away. You should also avoid this pawn type. Passed pawns. A pawn without anyone to challenge it. Basically, it can become a queen if no one can stop it. Protected passed pawn. This pawn type is overpowered as fuck. The king can't take the base of the chain since the other pawn will promote, so they're kinda self-sufficient. Outside pawn. An outside pawn is one that's away from most of the other pawns. These pawns aren't really special, but sometimes they can become a decoy for the king to follow, while you take all of black's pawns.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get it.
Doubled pawn. A doubled pawn is when two pawns are in the same file. This should be avoided since the bottom pawn can't defend the top one. Boxed in. Imagine you're white in this position. It looks hopeless, black is about to promote. But you actually have a trick. Instead of crying yourself to sleep, follow the black king. Now the black king can't escape, and you can dance around for eternity. If black pushes the pawn, it's stalemate. Long distance opposition. Long distance opposition is basically opposition with three squares between the kings. It's mostly used to get into normal opposition. For example, in this position, there's only one move that draws the game. You might be tempted to go toward the center, okay? But if you do, white can oppose you and easily win. If you go somewhere else, white grabs your pawn. The only move is maintaining long distance opposition with king to d8. Now the kings dance around, and if white ever tries getting closer, you can give opposition and force a draw. Triangulation. Triangulation is a maneuver to lose a tempo to gain opposition or some benefit. For example, in this position, you go in a triangular path to lose a tempo, starting with king to d4. Then you continue with this move and white won't go here. Otherwise, they just get opposed. So instead, white waits. You also don't play king here. Otherwise, it's the same situation as before. So you wait again, complete the triangle, and finally, whatever white plays leads to their demise. For example, if white plays king here, they promptly lose. If white plays here, you gain opposition and win. If white goes here, you step into the diagonal opposition we discussed earlier, and also win. Overloading. Overloading in king and pawn endgames is when a king is tasked with too many things. The most obvious example is this one, where two pawns can push without support, and the black king can't capture one without letting the other queen. So in the middle game, try creating outside pawns, so you can use them as a decoy later on to win the game. Zugzwang. Zugzwang means that every move you play worsens your position. For example, in this position, black is in Zugzwang. Black has only one move, and that move allows the pawn to promote. In another example, who do you think is winning? Well, it's actually a trick question. It depends on whose move it is. If it's white to play, black is winning, because white will have to leave the pawn hanging. In this final example, the black king is trapped and has no legal moves. Black's only option is to push pawns, which allows them to be captured. However, you make sure to leave the king breathing room. If you capture all the pawns, it's just stalemate. Well, if you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe. It helps out a ton. And if you're curious about the best and worst endgame tips, watch this video on the left.